Marilyn Monroe and Tony Curtis may have created magic on screen, but off-screen their relationship was anything but warm. The tension between the two skyrocketed to such a degree that Curtis went on to make one of the most shocking comments in Hollywood history, comparing kissing Monroe to kissing Hitler. It's a statement that stunned the world and raised questions. What could possibly have driven Curtis to say something so outrageous and so soon after World War II about the woman known as the ultimate American icon? Was it just frustration, bitterness, or something deeper? By 1958, when production began on Some Like It Hot, both Marilyn Monroe and Tony Curtis were at pivotal points in their careers. Marilyn had become the ultimate symbol of Hollywood glamour, adored worldwide for her beauty, charisma, and vulnerability. But behind the camera, the cracks were starting to show. Her personal life was increasingly turbulent. Her marriage to playwright Arthur Miller was rocky, and the pressures of stardom had begun to take a serious toll on her mental health and professionalism. Director Billy Wilder had worked with Marilyn before on The 7-Year Itch, and had famously described her as a brilliant actress trapped in the body of a child. He knew what to expect: stunning results on screen, but chaos trying to get there. He later admitted, "She was never on time and she never knew her lines. It was exhausting, but my God, she was worth it." Tony Curtis, meanwhile, was a rising star who had earned critical acclaim for his versatility in films like Sweet Smell of Success. Curtis, eager to cement his place as a leading man, took on the role in Some Like It Hot, hoping to showcase not only his comedic chops, but his ability to work alongside Hollywood's biggest icons. But working with Marilyn proved to be far more challenging than he'd anticipated. Curtis and Monroe had a complicated history even before cameras started rolling. In the late 1940s, before either of them achieved major stardom, the two had a brief romantic fling. By the time they reunited for this film, those feelings had fizzled into professional indifference, though some speculated that lingering personal tensions may have fueled later conflicts. The dynamic between Monroe and Curtis on the set was further complicated by Jack Lemmon, their co-star in the film. Lemmon often served as a buffer between the two, jokingly referring to himself as the guy in the middle of a Cold War. Marilyn's frequent absences and difficulties memorizing her lines frustrated everyone, but Curtis seemed to take it particularly hard. In interviews, Curtis reflected on how the shoot quickly spiraled into stress. "We were doing 50 or more takes for simple scenes. It wasn't just frustrating, it was infuriating. Jack and I would sit there watching the hours go by, waiting for her to get it together." Adding to the tension was Marilyn's developing reputation for being unapproachable. Unlike earlier in her career, where she charmed nearly everyone on set, she had grown increasingly insular by the late 1950s. Tony described trying to connect with her on set, saying, "She was distant. She didn't engage unless the cameras were rolling. It felt like she was battling her own demons, which made working with her even tougher." As production wore on, Billy Wilder was forced to repeatedly adjust the shooting schedule to accommodate Marilyn's unpredictability, often pairing simpler scenes with Marilyn's more difficult segments in the hopes of salvaging the day. Curtis took note of this favoritism, which added to his frustrations. "The whole production felt like it was built around Marilyn," he later remarked, "and I felt like we were cleaning up her mess every step of the way." Though the pieces of tension were falling into place, no one could have anticipated the infamous kissing scene that would explode into one of the most controversial comments in Hollywood history. The moment epitomized just how strained things had become, setting the stage for a quip that Curtis would never live down. The boiling tension between Marilyn Monroe and Tony Curtis reached its breaking point during the filming of one particularly memorable scene, the kissing sequence. On screen, it was supposed to be a lighthearted moment of romantic chemistry between Monroe's sugarcane and Curtis's cross-dressing Josephine, who had temporarily dropped his disguise. Off-screen, however, it became clear just how much friction had built up between the two stars. Tony Curtis would later describe filming the kiss as one of the most uncomfortable moments of his career. According to him, the kiss was far from the glamorous image audiences saw in theaters. "It was like kissing Hitler," Curtis famously said in an interview, but what exactly had gone wrong? In interviews, Curtis elaborated on the experience. "She practically choked me," he claimed, referring to Monroe's unexpectedly forceful approach to the scene. While the kiss came across as playful and romantic to viewers, Curtis said it was anything but enjoyable. According to him, it was wet, messy, and awkward, a stark contrast to the polished on-screen chemistry. Curtis also noted that by this point in production, he had grown increasingly frustrated with Marilyn's erratic behavior. Her frequent lateness, inability to remember lines, and insistence on numerous takes had turned what should have been a smooth shoot into a grueling ordeal. "That kiss wasn't just a kiss," Curtis explained. "It felt like everything that had been festering let loose in that one moment." Billy Wilder, who had been watching the scene unfold, later admitted to feeling exasperated by the sheer number of retakes required. He famously quipped, "It's not easy directing a kiss when one person hates the other, but that's showbiz." Despite his frustrations with Monroe, Wilder maintained his admiration for her talent, though he couldn't help but sympathize with Curtis's growing irritation. Marilyn, meanwhile, remained largely unaware of or indifferent to the brewing resentment. She later described the kiss in a brief interview as "just part of the job," showing no signs that she felt it was anything out of the ordinary. Her focus, as always, was on perfecting her performance, even if it meant exhausting her co-stars and the crew. Some members of the cast and crew speculated that Curtis's sharp criticism of Monroe wasn't entirely about the kiss itself. According to Jack Lemmon, who witnessed much of the tension, Tony was tired of playing second fiddle. Marilyn was the star, and that's just how things worked, but it grated on him. Curtis himself later admitted that his infamous Hitler remark wasn't meant to be taken literally. In later years, he attempted to downplay the scandal, calling it just something I said offhand to lighten the mood. However, the comparison struck a chord with audiences, particularly given its shocking nature so soon after World War II. Despite Tony's attempts to soften the blow, the damage was done. His comment became the defining anecdote of the Some Like It Hot production, overshadowing much of the behind-the-scenes drama. The remark cemented the perception of their off-screen tension, painting a clear picture of two stars who clashed in almost every possible way. What's remarkable, however, is that this infamous kiss, born out of such frustration and disdain, ended up contributing to the electric tension that made Some Like It Hot a masterpiece. As Curtis himself once admitted, the audience doesn't see the anger, they just see the chemistry. And that's the magic of movies. But while the cameras captured perfection, the relationship between Marilyn and Curtis behind the scenes would never recover. Next, we'll explore how the fallout from the kiss and Curtis's shocking words impacted their careers and the legacy of Some Like It Hot. The aftermath of Tony Curtis's infamous kissing Hitler remark sent ripples through Hollywood, forever altering how his working relationship with Marilyn Monroe was remembered. While the comment was initially made offhand during a private interview, it quickly became public knowledge and the media seized on the shock value. For Curtis, the remark was a moment of frustration vented without thinking. For Monroe's fans, it was an unforgivable slight against Hollywood royalty. Curtis later admitted that the Hitler quip was intended as a joke, albeit one born from genuine irritation. It wasn't personal, he clarified in later years. I didn't dislike Marilyn as a person, but working with her was incredibly difficult. I was venting, that's all. He went on to blame the media for blowing the comment out of proportion. Though its staying power as one of Hollywood's most outrageous behind-the-scenes anecdotes suggests that frustrations between the two ran deeper. Marilyn Monroe, on the other hand, never directly addressed Curtis's comment, at least not publicly. By the time Curtis's remarks made headlines, Marilyn was preoccupied with other battles, including her fragile mental health, her increasingly strained marriage to Arthur Miller, and her deep insecurities about her place in the industry. Her response, or lack thereof, seemed to indicate that she was either unaware of the controversy or chose to ignore it altogether. For those who worked on Some Like It Hot, the kiss and resulting fallout became a symbol of the wider chaos that had defined the production. Director Billy Wilder was candid about the challenges of working with Monroe, though he stopped short of completely siding with Curtis. Marilyn could drive you insane, Wilder said in a later interview. She was unreliable, unpredictable, and infuriating. But she was also brilliant. You took the madness because the results were worth it. As for Curtis, the fallout did little to mitigate his frustration. He continued to discuss the difficulties of working with Monroe in numerous interviews, often painting her in a less than flattering light. "She lived in her own world," he once said. "You had to follow her rules if you wanted to get anything done." While these comments were likely meant to explain the tough circumstances on set, they only solidified the perception that Curtis harbored lingering resentment toward his co-star. The public, however, sided overwhelmingly with Marilyn. As one of the most iconic and beloved figures in Hollywood history, her fans viewed Curtis's remarks as unfair and gratuitous. Decades later, her undeniable charm in Some Like It Hot left many questioning why Curtis couldn't see past the challenges of working with her. Jack Lemmon, the film's other lead, perhaps summed it up best. "Yes, she was difficult, but when she did it right, you forgot all of that. Tony, he just didn't forget. That was the difference between them." Interestingly, both Curtis and Wilder eventually softened their stances toward Monroe, likely influenced by her tragic passing in 1962. Curtis, in particular, expressed regret about the remark that had overshadowed so much of their collaboration. "Marilyn and I had our differences, but looking back, I can say she was one of a kind," he said in a later interview. "And I wish I had appreciated that more at the time." Despite Curtis's attempts to clarify his feelings, the "kissing Hitler" comment stuck, and for some fans became an enduring reminder of how misunderstood and isolated Monroe could be behind the scenes. For Curtis, it became both a badge of honesty and a mark of controversy that he could never quite shed. Yet, in an ironic twist, the very tension that divided Monroe and Curtis off-screen contributed to the film's incredible success. The chemistry between their characters, equal parts playful, awkward, and charged, was bolstered by their real-life frustrations, even if it was unintentional. As Wilder noted, that sometimes friction creates fire. Despite the on-set chaos and backstage feuds, Some Like It Hot went on to become one of the most celebrated comedies in Hollywood history. The film's sharp writing, pitch-perfect performances, and unique blend of humor and heart struck a chord with audiences and critics alike. Decades after its release, the film is still hailed as a masterpiece, proof that the magic of movies can endure even when the process of making them is far from smooth. For Marilyn Monroe, Some Like It Hot was the crowning jewel in her career. As the lovable yet vulnerable Sugar Cane, Marilyn captivated audiences with her charm and comedic timing, proving once again that she was more than just a glamorous icon. She was a skilled actress with an innate ability to evoke both laughter and sympathy. Despite her well-documented struggles during production, director Billy Wilder never wavered in his admiration for her. Nobody else could have played Sugar. Marilyn made it her own. No matter how difficult she was unforgettable, Wilder said. Tony Curtis, on the other hand, walked away from the film with mixed feelings. While his performance as the suave, cross-dressing Joe earned praise, the tension with Marilyn and the fallout from his "kissing Hitler" remark left a sour taste. Curtis himself admitted that in hindsight he allowed the difficulties of the shoot to overshadow the film's success. "I look back now and think, why couldn't I just let it go?" he later reflected. But at the time it felt personal. I couldn't see past the chaos. Despite his frustration, Some Like It Hot elevated Curtis to new heights of stardom and cemented his status as one of Hollywood's leading men. However, his relationship with the film and with Monroe's legacy remained complicated. In later years, Curtis alternated between praising her talents and lamenting the struggles of working with her. "She was fantastic on screen, but behind the scenes, it was a different story," he conceded in one interview. For director Billy Wilder, the production stood out as one of his most challenging yet rewarding experiences. He humorously dubbed the film his most painful masterpiece, citing the countless delays, retakes, and arguments as a small price to pay for the final result. Reflecting on the success of the film, Wilder remarked, "Nobody remembers the headaches, they only remember the laughs." While the feud between Tony Curtis and Marilyn Monroe has become a well-documented part of Hollywood history, it is perhaps overshadowed by the enduring legacy of Some Like It Hot. The film's ability to thrive despite the obstacles of its production is a testament to the talent and determination of everyone involved, even those who didn't get along. The kissing Hitler remark, though infamous, became just one chapter in the larger story. For audiences, it added a layer of intrigue to an already legendary production. For Curtis, it became a lesson in tempering frustration. And for those who admired Monroe, it served as a reminder of her resilience as an artist, even in the face of overwhelming personal and professional challenges. Ultimately, Some Like It Hot remains a testament to the power of collaboration, even when that collaboration is fraught with tension. The friction between Curtis and Monroe may have posed obstacles on set, but it also gave rise to some of the most electric on-screen chemistry in cinematic history. As Billy Wilder once said, they didn't have to love each other to make a great film, they just had to show up, and sometimes that was enough. In the end, the legacy of Some Like It Hot proves that brilliance can emerge, even when the path to get there is anything but smooth. It's a Hollywood story that reminds us that behind the glamour lies grit, and behind the laughter, plenty of tears. The story of Some Like It Hot is one of contrasts, a film that exudes effortless charm but was the result of painstaking effort, a cast whose on-screen chemistry masked the fundamental tensions behind the scenes. For Marilyn Monroe and Tony Curtis, their clash epitomized the challenges of working in Hollywood's golden age, where enormous pressure, personal insecurities, and professional ambition often collided. The infamous kissing Hitler comment has become more than just a footnote in their careers. It represents a moment in time when the pristine image of classic Hollywood collided with the raw realities of human relationships. While the production itself was contentious, the final product proved that even unpolished dynamics could contribute to something extraordinary. Monroe and Curtis didn't need to get along to create magic. Their differences added to the layered complexity of their performances and ultimately enhanced the humor, tension, and depth of the film's unforgettable scenes. In the years following Some Like It Hot, both stars continued their respective journeys. For Marilyn, the film became a lasting showcase of her comedic and dramatic talents, a legacy cemented despite the struggles she endured both during and after the production. Her ability to deliver a standout performance under immense personal and professional pressure solidified her place as a Hollywood icon. For Curtis, the film remains a career-defining highlight, a testament to his versatility as an actor. Though his off-camera frustration with Monroe is often remembered, his role in Some Like It Hot symbolizes his dedication to his craft and his willingness to stretch the boundaries of his image. Curtis may have been at odds with Monroe behind the scenes, but on screen, their performances complemented each other in a way that only further immortalized the film. The legacy of their feud, while dramatic, serves as a reminder that conflict doesn't always overshadow success. Their turbulent working relationship gave rise to a film that continues to stand the test of time, beloved by audiences and studied by filmmakers decades later. In the end, Some Like It Hot is more than just a comedy classic. It's a case study in how even the messiest creative partnerships can produce something enduring. Behind the humor and romance lies a history of struggle, a stark contrast to the seamless brilliance that played out on the silver screen. Their feud, while at times messy and unforgettable, became a small but fascinating piece of cinematic history.